Remember that feeling from childhood when you were spinning on a carousel and then the ground dropped out from under your feet? It was fun then. We laughed and fell into the grass. But when something like that happens now, at 50, 60, or 70, it's no longer a game, it's anxiety. You're walking down the familiar hallway of your apartment, and suddenly the wall seems to sway toward you, or you step outside, and the asphalt under your feet becomes soft as cotton wool. At that moment, your insides clench with fear. Is this old age? Am I becoming infirm? Many of my patients come with this quiet terror in their eyes. They begin to limit their lives, go to the store less often, refuse walks in the park, are afraid to turn their heads even once. But I want you to take a deep breath and exhale now. In most cases, this unsteadiness isn't a death sentence or even a disease that needs to be treated with handfuls of pills with a ton of side effects. Often, it's simply your body's cry that there are holes in the foundation of your health. You know, over 30 years of practice, I've seen hundreds of people literally stitch their gait back together by simply changing what's on their plate. We're used to thinking that nutrition is about excess weight or sugar. But for a mature person, food is, first and foremost, about the functioning of the vestibular system, the conduction of nerve impulses, and the tone of those very small muscles that keep us balanced when we don't even notice it. Today, we'll look at 5 specific products that work better than many pharmaceutical drugs because they address the root cause of unsteadiness, and I kindly ask you to watch this conversation to the very end. Not because I need views, but because at the end I'll reveal one secret, one small detail that they keep quiet about in the clinics. But it is this detail that determines whether you will fly like a swallow or carefully move your feet, holding onto the wall. This is the golden link, without which even the most expensive vitamins will pass you by. By the way, if you feel that this conversation resonates with you, please give it a like. This will help the video reach those who are now sitting at home alone and afraid to take a step, thinking that they have something incurable, and subscribe. Here we are learning to age gracefully, maintaining clarity of mind and a firm step. After all, our longevity isn't luck, it's our conscious choice and daily work warmed by self-love. Have you ever wondered why an experienced captain stands rooted to the spot on the deck during a storm, while a rookie collapses? It's not just a matter of habit, it's how the brain reads signals from the muscles, and the first thing we need to do is restore this connection, which over the years becomes noisy, like an old radio, and we'll start with something that seems simple, but in fact is a powerful tool for restoring nerve tissue. Have you ever wondered why in some cultures, where people remain vigorous until 100, fatty sea fish is always on the table? No, not because of the fashionable Mediterranean diet. Let's look inside our nerve fibers. Imagine an electrical cable. If its insulation wears through, the spark will go to ground, causing a short circuit in our body. The myelin sheath serves as such insulation. When it thins, the signal from the brain to the legs is delayed or distorted. The brain says, step to the left, but the leg receives the signal, stumble. That's your dizziness, that's your unsteadiness. Salt, mackerel, sardines, they're not just food, they're duct tape for your nerves. The omega-3 fatty acids, they're rich and integrate into cell membranes and make them elastic. I had a patient, Anna Sergeyevna, 64 years old. She complained that when she got out of bed, the world before her eyes was spinning in a loop. We didn't start with heavy vascular medications. We simply added good, high-quality herring to her diet 3 times a week and modified her drinking regimen slightly. A month later, she came to see me and said, "Doctor, I caught myself running down the stairs, forgetting about the banister. Of course, it's not a miracle." Omega-3 reduces microinflammation in the blood vessels of the brain, which are often the cause of that same fog and instability. When blood flows easily and the blood vessels are not constricted, your internal gyroscope works like a Swiss watch. But remember, the fish should be fatty and preferably not fried until crispy, but baked or lightly salted. Heat kills the very gold we are hunting for. Try making this a habit for the next week. Buy some good whole herring and cut it yourself. This, by the way, is excellent fine motor training for the brain, and eat a couple of pieces a day. You'll notice how, in 7-10 days, your head will become clearer and your legs will feel more confident. This small action doesn't require a prescription, but gives your body the resources for self-healing. But fatty acids are only part of the foundation. After all, to stand firm, we need not only healthy nerves, but also strong levers. As we age, we imperceptibly lose muscle mass. This process is called sarcopenia. her, and if your calf and thigh muscles are weakening, no amount of omega-3 will keep you from swaying. And here comes a product that many underestimate, considering it too simple. This product is a regular chicken or quail egg. What's so special about it, you might ask? We're used to seeing it for breakfast, but for a person in middle age, it's a true concentrate of life. You see, for your gait to be confident, your brain must constantly receive reports from your muscles. We're here, we're tense, we maintain our balance. But if your muscles become weak, they stop talking to your brain. They become limp, like flat tires. Many of you, having listened to old advice, are afraid of eggs because of the cholesterol. Forget this fear. Modern science has long since proven that dietary cholesterol has almost no effect on blood cholesterol. However, an egg is a benchmark protein, absorbed by our body almost 100%, but the most important thing for us is chaline, which is found in the yolk. This is a precursor to acetylcholine, the main transmitter of nerve impulses. If it's low, the brain-muscle connection breaks. You want to take a step, but the muscle responds sluggishly with a delay. This is where the unpleasant uncertainty in movement comes from. I often think of my patient, former engineer Ivan Petrovich. He came to me with a cane at 68 years old. The doctor said, "I'm afraid to cross the road. It feels like my legs won't obey me. They're like cotton wool." We analyzed his diet: porridge, tea with crackers, plain soups. Protein intake is almost zero. I persuaded him to start eating 2 soft-boiled eggs every morning. After 3 weeks, he came back without a cane. Of course, we added exercises, but without the building blocks, his muscles simply couldn't respond to the training. Eggs also contain vitamin D and vitamin B12. B12 deficiency is a classic cause of swayback in people over 50, which doctors often confuse with a mini stroke or age-related vascular changes, but is actually simply a result of starving bone marrow and nervous system. Treat yourself to this gift. Tomorrow, for breakfast, cook 2 eggs, boil them so the yolks remain runny. This is the form in which chaline or citrine is most available to your body. Try eating this way for at least a week. It will give your muscles and nerves the energy they've been lacking for years. You'll feel your stride become more compact, your foot begin to grip the ground better. However, my friends, restoring nerve conduction and nourishing your muscles is only half the battle. There's another factor that literally throws off our balance. It's connected to microcirculation in the most delicate part of our ear, where our innermost level, our gyroscope, is hidden, and this delicate mechanism can be helped by a product often called a food for longevity, but rarely associated with gait. We'll talk about how ordinary hazelnuts or walnuts affect your balance microbes right now. You know, it's not for nothing that walnuts resemble the human brain. It's as if nature has left us a hint. Look, this will help your brain, but while for young people, nuts are simply a healthy snack, for us, they are a strategic supply of substances that keep the inner ear in good shape. Inside our skull, there is a tiny apparatus called the vestibular system. It contains microscopic villi and fluid. For this mechanism to function properly, blood must circulate through its tiny capillaries without the slightest obstruction. Let the blood vessels narrow due to spasms or the deposition of cholesterol plaques, and that's it, the picture blurs. You turn your head and the world catches up with you belatedly. Walnuts are rich in alpha-linolenic acid and vitamin E. These are powerful protectors of the vascular wall. They make the blood more fluid precisely in those narrowest places where other foods fail. I had a patient who worked as a librarian. She complained that when she took a book from the top shelf, her vision would blur and she would have to grab the shelf. We added only 3 or 4 walnuts a day to her diet. But I taught her an important secret. They must be soaked in water for a couple of hours before eating. This removes the phytic acid, which interferes with the absorption of trace elements, and the nuts literally come alive. After a month, she admitted that the dizziness when lifting her head had practically disappeared. Imagine your blood vessels as an irrigation system in your garden. If the hoses are clogged with sand, the flowers will wilt. Walnuts are a gentle flush for this system. They contain magnesium, which relieves vascular spasms, which often occur due to stress or pressure changes. When the vessel is relaxed, blood carries oxygen to the vestibular nerve and you feel the ground beneath your feet again. Make it a rule. Every morning eat 3 walnuts. You don't need to eat kilograms. Regularity, not quantity, is important. Try this for 7 days, and you'll notice that sudden movements no longer cause that unpleasant feeling of loss of control. This is calm, confident self-improvement, but even the cleanest vessels